Hello, everyone. Gabs here. What's in the glass? How are you guys? As you can see, I just received a T-shirt from our show, the project. So I'm wear it with a lot of pride. How are you? I hope you're well. I hope you're safe. I hope you keep active in these days. And my name is Gabs. If you never saw me before, I'm started What's in the Glass as a digital community experience back in April. We did some live streams at the time. They went really well. We spoke with 48 different people from the beer industry, from London, from the UK, and from Europe. And it went really well. We enjoy it. I couldn't do more than 48. I really had to stop after a bit. We spoke about many different things at that time. So we realized we wanted to do something more interesting, and we started to do a show about pubs in London. You can find everything about turning the tides in our website, our social media. So this is not the time to speak about that. I always wanted to speak with the best people, but the best are not necessarily the most famous one, but they are the one that really, really care about this industry, the one that are really making the difference, the one that are recognized as the best bartenders, the best managers. And sometimes this is coming from the respect that other people within the industry have for them. And some of the times it's just because when you go in a place, when you go in a pub, which unfortunately we can't do right now, and you really feel like a home, you really feel like it's the best place you can be. Again, this is what I'm talking about: familiarity and confidence, and just overall a very good place. As you can see, this is my setup from a while, my living room. So sorry if you constantly see the same background, but I can't really do any better. I'm trying to organize myself and this show to have a better frame, let's say, and this is gonna come with a bit of time more, waiting for the for the relaxations of the limitations that we have right now. The digital beer streams is very, very happy to have all the customers that we managed to have in this show. There are some other times I'm super, super, super happy. And I met Tony from Mikkeller a few times. As I said, we got friends in common, and everyone is super happy to spend beautiful words about himself and his work. And if you never heard about Mikkeller before, you are mad, or you don't live in planet Earth, or you just don't like beer, because it's impossible that you never heard about the name Mikkeller before. And we're going to talk with the GM of the first UK bar in the bar in London for Mikkeller. So can you please welcome Tony? Hello, mate.
Hello. Thanks for inviting me on.
My pleasure. Thank you for jumping, and I'm super happy to have you here today. It's as I said, I just feel like so much at home when I come into your bar and see you. I'm like, I'm gonna have good beer. I'm gonna have to relax. That's what I think.
That's what we aim for sure.
Lovely, man. And I think you are in the bar right now. You were telling me before, right?
That's right. Yeah, I'm lucky to just live close by, so I thought I would come in for the stream and grab a beer, and yeah.
Well, let me open my beer as well. I'm going for a Bibliotech Lingoberry Sour. I'm not showing the can because we're talking about Mikkeller today, so I don't need to show all the breweries. I really wanted to hear from you guys, from your experience. I've been around visiting a few pubs since back in the summertime, and for some reason we haven't managed to catch up then. And I would love to hear from your experience. But starting with this, if, as I said, someone is not familiar exactly with Mikkeller, would you mind to give us a bit of insight and tell us who you are, guys?
Sure. So sorry, I don't know if it's my internet. The audio is cutting out a little bit there, but yeah. So if you're not familiar with Mikkeller, it's kind of one of the pioneering Scandinavian breweries in terms of the recent, well, relatively recent craft beer movement. Obviously influenced by the American breweries that have been doing it for a while. Started off with a guy called Mikkel, who was kind of home brewing, made a beer with coffee in it, which was pretty unusual back then, fairly common now, but it's called Beer Geek Breakfast, and it won Best Beer in the World back in 2006. From then, he realized that he was going to have to start making more beer, and started at the Proof, sort of brewing from there. And yeah, now it's obviously grown to be this international phenomenon where got a few different breweries and loads of different bars and restaurants and things around the world. So yeah, been we opened the first bar here in London back in 2018, and that was obviously super exciting, long overdue, and it's been great to be part of that. So yeah.
I remember the queue in the early days, and not even just in the early days, to pop in the bar, and the emotion to see the boards and checking all the events that you were going to plan to do, along the weeks, the months. So definitely a beautiful, addition to the already beautiful, beer world, which is in London right now. I always loved the fact that the UK is so how can I say, so proud about the brewing traditions that we have over here, but in the same time so welcoming to all the good beer from around the planet. And I mean, Mikkeller has always been super respected over the UK, and I always think then the people were waiting to have a Mikkeller Bar over here. And do you have any comparison between maybe the way that Mikkeller is perceived over here? Did you have straight away beautiful comments of people were a bit not sure what to expect?
I mean, the first day that we opened was absolutely crazy. It was, the response was amazing. It was really busy. I didn't mention, but obviously, as you know, the Mikkeller in the UK is a collaborative venture with Rick Astley, of course. So he was here for the opening day, playing live in the bar, and it's not a big bar. So just him and his little band took up about a quarter of it, and it was just absolutely packed with people. We had people out on the street, kind of watching and listening through the windows, coupled with obviously, just a insane beer list as well. So that was that was a great way to kick it off. But it should have been a really stressful, horrible day because we had no power on that opening day. We'd done a pre-opening thing with everyone flew over from Copenhagen, and some UK industry people came. Rick was filming Graham Norton or something, I think, that evening, and then he came along later. But we all had some beers, and it all went great. And because we're next to a hotel, the hotel has rooms directly above the bar. So we rented out the rooms for that weekend just to make sure there was no issues with noise or whatever. So we went up and crashed in the hotel that night, and then we came downstairs the next morning, 9 o'clock, and there was no power. There was power in the hotel, literally just above the bar. That was fine, but in the bar there was no power, and it was crazy. We were we were trying to scramble a generator. We had a guy who was we arranged with the hotel owner. We had an electrician who was gonna knock through the wall to try and hook onto their power. Uh, we had, a stream of people going around to the local pubs to get ice, so we could put, bottles of beer into ice. We were like shoveling coal into a engine room of an old steamship. We were shoveling coal into the beer coolers to try and keep the beer pouring. Uh, so yeah, it was a crazy day. But if in any other circumstance, I could imagine that being a horrible, stressful nightmare. But it wasn't. It was hectic and crazy and so much fun. And I think that kind of sums up Mikkeller. Really,
It,
it's been a wild ride.
it sounds like the UK was ready to have a Mikkeller Bar in London. It was definitely ready. That was the right
For sure.
baptism.
Yeah, and we've got the brew pub now as well, which we still really haven't been able to have a launch for. So we're really excited. I'm really excited for everyone to be able to try those beers because we've got our brewer there, Mark. He used to work at Brew by Numbers and Ale Farm in Denmark and Beavertown back in the day. The beers he's making are absolutely world class, and I think it's a real shame that obviously because of what's been happening the last year, not not that many people have been able to try them yet. But I'm really looking forward to when we can serve them to a wider audience because yeah, they're just amazing. So.
I'm not really far from the outpost because that is going to be North London, Clerkenwell, so central north, I would say, kind of in
Yeah.
between. So
Yeah,
it would be very,
Exmouth
very
Market,
interesting.
already a great spot for beer. The Exmouth Arms is right on the corner there, so yeah.
Lovely. And the interesting sides of the conversation could be try to understand, for example, if Mikkeller with their bar operational was having an approach that was unified everywhere in the world, or if you, Tony, and your colleagues at the brew pub in Exmouth Market had to actually saying, look, this is what happened in the UK right now, guys. We need this, we need that. So how has been the different answer from this crisis from a Mikkeller point of view in every place where there is a bar?
Well, it's obviously been tough all around the world. In a lot of the places that we've got bars, some places have closed, unfortunately. The restrictions have been really had a big impact. We're really lucky here in the UK that Mikkeller has been kind of very supportive of us and is kind of willing to kind of prop us up until things get back to normal. But we've been like I said, we've never really been able to launch the brew pub, even though that's theoretically opened in 2019. It was kind of started opening without the brewery. And then, once the brewery was in, we haven't really been able to do much with it. So that's a long time for it to not really be doing what we wanted it to do, And obviously, it's a big old space that costs a lot of money. So it's not great. Yeah.
Again, I honestly think, I was keeping in touch with people which are all around Europe and all around the world, try to understand what was the best way. The best way had always been respecting what the roots are on the time. So if you're living in a place like London and London doesn't have some specific issue, you can't open, you just don't open. You may find a way to deliver beer or to making beer and to serve it in a creative way. I don't know, like takeaway or growler. Did you do anything like that, or do you prefer just to shut the place when you couldn't go further anymore?
So sorry, I think I lost a little bit of the last.
Could
you just repeat the question?
Sure. I was just saying, how did you faced the challenge that you had straight away when you had to close the bar? Like, what did you had to do? Did you just like lock down the place, manage everything? What was the first impact, and how did you manage to do everything?
That initial impact back in March, obviously there'd been an impact before then. Places were getting quiet and people were getting quite reticent about going out. I'd just been up to Sheffield for the beer festival up there. And it's weird to look back on now, but I don't think many people, certainly I didn't realize, how much impact it was going to have, which is probably quite short-sighted, really, when you think about how much impact it had already had in other parts of the world. But I guess you just never think it's going to affect you in the same way. But yeah, after that closure order came, obviously we just locked everything up. And for a few weeks, we were all on furlough. Then we got a crowler machine.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to start kind of sealing the draft beer, and we were selling out of the window. So we kind of had essentially like a bottle shop operation, but we were pretty happy with it. It was no one came inside. It was just stop by the window. We had a blackboard in the window there with the beers available, and we would kind of pour them freshly to order into the crowlers, do a CO2 purge, seal them up, and I think a lot of people are doing that now. But yeah, we started doing that kind of end of April. So I think we were kind of one of the first places, at least in the area, to start doing it. And that was great. That worked really well for us throughout the summer until things kind of went a bit stop-start with all the openings and close. Yeah. So
who do you think did you have like to come in and get your beer? Because people sometimes, especially if they're not based in East, think that Shoreditch is a always moving spot, is very busy. There are people everywhere, similar to Camden or Soho, all the areas like that. How was at the time, and how is changing now? Are where no people at that point, and are now people again in the area?
Well, so since January, when they announced the latest lockdown measures, we decided to stay closed at least for the time being. So yeah, we've been closed since January. Which is, I think, a real shame, because I feel like, the way we were operating was pretty much as safe as you can be, without anyone inside and things like that. But hopefully we'll be able to get that going again. And there are also considerations. No one wants to be queuing outside for beer in the snow and the rain. So obviously yeah, it's just not how we were intending. It's not how we intended to operate. So,
yeah. But in the same time, there are so much. The industry. You've been working in many different places, so you understand that as well. There are maybe like bottle shops, or there are like other type of pubs that maybe need a bit of support. So I'm sure you did your part.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, bottle shops, are an absolute lifeline. Obviously, Mikkeller is not just the bars. We have the brewery as well. So we have the, the trade side of things. And bottle shops have been essential for us, really, because, where it's the only place we can really sell our beer at the moment. Yeah.
I love to see that there are someone in the comments that was thinking that you were actually sitting in your house and the one behind you was your private beer stash. That's pretty interesting.
No, beer doesn't last that long in my house. So
same here. Oh man, and again, is there any sort of good news coming from Denmark right now or Asia? Because I'm sure you are connected with all the bar managers and colleagues of yours into the Mikkeller family. what they saying? What is the general perception around for the industry as well?
I think Denmark is in. It's not too different from our situation here. You know, they've been really impacted by a lot of restrictions from the government, and you know, I don't think there's many places in the world that have handled it worse than the UK, to be honest with you. But things aren't going that great in Denmark either. So it's tough in Copenhagen, which is obviously where a lot of our bars are and restaurants and things. Asia has been a really you know, that's kind of one of the main places where we've been growing, where Mikkeller's been growing as a company recently. So you know, a lot of the bars in that part of the world have reacted probably better to COVID, and they're starting to, you know, get back to normality, which is great for them. You know, it's nice to have that aspect of the business that can still function. So, yeah.
And you know, you just mentioned the way that they have been dealing with this crisis right now. But as manager, even before this crisis that we are right now, did you learn something from different operations located in different areas in the world, or even about beer culture? Like, I don't even know what kind of beers in you know, in Japan or in Korea that people drink. And did you have a chance to improve your knowledge and your skills dealing with these colleagues of yours?
To some extent, yeah. I mean, I've only worked for Mikkeller for about 2.5 years now. So that's obviously, you know, been based around the London bars. But it's really interesting, the culture in you know, especially, you know, a lot of parts of Asia where they haven't had the same kind of long-standing beer culture that we have in Europe. So it's more of a, they've had more of a clean slate. There aren't some, you know, there aren't so many kind of preconceptions about what beer is or what beer should be. So I think that's really works well for Mikkeller, because people are very open to seeing all the different styles, and you know, we have like a Michelin star restaurant with a Mikkeller Bar above it. You know, so beer and food pairing, you know, there's a big focus there as well. So yeah, a lot of parts of the world, you know, beer will be drunk just in little, you know, not even a third measure, but something smaller than that, and just kind of sampled and, you know, trying all different styles, which is, you know, that's what Mikkeller's all about, right? We make so many different beers, so sampling as many different styles as you can is, yeah, that's what we're all about. So
am I allowed to say that Spontan Basil just completely made my brain just flip out from my ears? That was,
it's incredible. Yeah, I've got a couple of bottles of it stashed away on the shelves behind me. Yeah, I love that beer. It's it's something that you'd think, a sour beer with basil. It doesn't sound like it's going to work, but it's absolutely amazing. And you know, that's what I love about Mikkeller, is there's just no limit to the kind of innovation that they'll go to. And you know, sometimes it doesn't work for me, but some of the beers that I don't like, a lot of people absolutely rave about. And you know, that's a great element of beer as well, is that it's subjective, and everyone can have different opinions, and you can if you brew enough different things, you'll be able to find something that someone likes. And that's a particular kind of joy of mine, is introducing people who think that they don't like beer, and getting them to try you know, different styles, and quite often they'll find that, you know, maybe they do enjoy at least some beer. So
and when you're talking about beers, then are not on your necessarily, you know, desires and stuff like that, I'm just assuming something maybe contemporary, something maybe very murky is not on your best favorite styles out there.
I mean, it's not. It's. Are you talking about like the New England
Example
IPAs and stuff?
IPAs, New England. Yeah, that kind of.
I don't drink that stuff much, but I don't have like I don't look down on it or anything like that. My family live in New England, so they live not too far from the Alchemist, for example. So like I've
Wow.
been there, and I say not too far. It's like a 2 hour drive, but
For the
last time
US
I
is
was
fine.
there, I persuaded my dad to drive me there, and and got some fresh stuff from the brewery. So that's absolutely incredible to try.
Did your dad
Um,
try it as well?
yeah, you know what? My dad actually a few years back now, long before I got a job with Mikkeller, for Christmas one year, I got him a load of different beers, including Mikkeller Black, the kind of big imperial stout. Stuff to kind of hold on to. He told me that there was a bottle of um, Hardy's vintage ale that he had last year. I think for Christmas, just this year, just gone, was the last of that stash. So we'd been holding on to these beers for about 5 years and just kind of gradually savoring them, which was really nice to see. But yeah,
Wow.
he can get some Mikkeller stuff even where he is out in Vermont. So yeah.
That's lovely. Yeah, I'm trying to let my parents back in Italy to deep hard on some contemporary beer styles, but again, I think you need to introduce the people, especially if they're not coming from a strong drinking background, to with food, and that's why I tried with many friends to have spontan basil with a burrata and some cherry tomatoes because that is just perfect with it. But
Yeah.
that was an example. Let me put it this way. Tony, I would love to know, um, generally speaking, do we have our industry safe? Do we need to suffer a bit more? Um, are we going to be able to see pubs thriving again? What is your general opinion in all of this?
Um, I mean, it's a tough one, obviously, to predict. I definitely feel like the beer industry and pubs in particular are kind of being made a scapegoat at the moment by the government, um, which doesn't really, I can only obviously speak for my own experiences, but I know that what I've done here and what I've seen in other places that I've been to is that we've been putting a huge amount of effort into making our places safe and doing things in the best way that we can. And when I go into a supermarket, I'm not trying to shift the blame or rail against anyone else, but there just aren't those same kind of controls there.
Yeah.
Um, and it's hard for me to think, that we're the problem. I'm not saying open all the pubs, drop all the restrictions. I'm not saying that, but I just think that there needs to be more consistency and more clarity. I think the main problem, given that COVID is happening and we have to live with it and we have to deal with it, is the kind of the flip flopping, and it's like 1 minute, the government's saying let's all get back to the pub, and the next minute it's people drinking in pubs is causing the virus to spread. Um, and I just think we need to accept that until we can get back to a stage where we can where we can open safely, we need to um, land on a set of rules that we can follow and stick with it, because what's really hurting the industry, I think, is just open 1 week and then closing the next couple of weeks, and then opening again, and it's just really financially and mentally draining on the industry. So
really is. And again, I don't see I don't see necessarily a bad future. I don't see necessarily a dark future. I just see a lack of responsibility to make the future be, you know, shining again. So I,
Yeah, I mean the future, it's definitely there. But having said that, I think that it's clear that some places won't survive, and I think that's a tragedy. But people still want beer, and bottle shops have been great in supporting the industry. But at the same time, I think people do want to get back into just drinking in the pub and drinking in a more convivial and social setting. I'm really looking forward to when that can happen.
yeah, I love to think that there's going to be a time where our industry is going to approach people that maybe, as it always did, but maybe without this need, people that aren't necessarily coming from the craft beer uh, industry community already. So I'm thinking of as well, like all of these beautiful things that has been done in the last 2-3 years, um, having people then representing people of colors or like different genders and different orientation in any way you want to consider orientation or identity. So I love to see how much, for example, Mikkeller is capable to reach different people coming from the music or coming from the food or coming from different cultures. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, for sure. That's something that we, Mikkel specifically, and Mikkeller as a company have always wanted to work with anyone that we think would be interesting to work with. So yeah, well, there's been a lot of amazing projects that have come out of that.
Well, I think the way then the pub you are managing has been started and the whole concept of collaboration with Rick Astley in the UK, that is already a very remarkable piece of beer history that's gonna stay forever. And
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be many more. There's been a couple of beer collaborations with Rick, and I'm sure there'll be more in the future as well.
right, well, it does Rick have like his own space in the pub where he likes to sit or stand, and how does it work when he's coming down? I'm really curious, and I never saw him, yeah, in the bar.
He usually comes up to the bar and ends up, people come up to talk to him, and he's honestly the loveliest guy. He's the nicest guy, and he's happy to chat to anyone. He usually ends up kind of standing. There's a little pillar near the bar, and he kind of ends up standing there as people approach to him, and he'll, yeah, have a chat with them.
Yeah, it'd be fun to have Mikkel and Rick in the same bar in the same night. I'm sure that is pretty cool. And what would I like to say to you? You had 20 beers that deserve to be poured very soon out from the draft line that you have in your bar. You have a beautiful team because we haven't mentioned that, but another beautiful thing about Mikkeller, and you are here to prove it, is they know how to choose good people to work on in their places. And we mentioned the brew pub, but your team as well in Shoreditch is just stellar.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a
You're,
small, close knit team, but yeah, I really like working with them. So
you also have good music, which is always a good thing in a bar.
thank you. Yeah.
I would say that. So let's be positive and let's say for the summertime, in a way or another, hopefully you're gonna be able to enjoy a pint with you in your bar. That's my wish.
Me too, and before then I'm sure we'll have the window up and running at least, and people can drop by and get a crowler and maybe even have a little chat about beer or whatever else, with a safe distance. But yeah, hopefully, yeah, at some point in the summer we'll be able to open again properly, and that's just going to be such a good feeling when that happens. So
there are too many events, too many festivals, too many opportunities out there, and I can't even think we're going to skip them again one more year. So I just please come on, it just can't happen one more time. We need to do something in here. What's your plan for tonight? You are now at the bar, and do you have to do anything else in there for tonight?
I need to water the plants because I've been the Ches, who normally kind of looks after the plants, lives quite far from here, so it's now the responsibility has become mine, and I'm not very good with plants, so I feel quite guilty whenever they're not looking well. So I'm trying my best to make sure that they're looked after, but that's about it. Yeah.
And relax yourself and do your stuff. Yeah, I understand, man. Well, I think, again, as I said, being able here to speak and be positive and have, even like tell a couple of stories to the people that are watching us is already a beautiful thing, and it really makes a difference in many cases. So we must be happy about it. And I'm sure I'm going to visit you, Natasha, Chandru, and all of our friends in common very soon. And what would I have to say? If there is anything else you want to add on this chat, because I trying always to don't go over 40 minutes for our watchers, otherwise it's going to be too much. So Tony, again, if you have anything else you want to add.
Sure. I mean, just to say thank you again for having me on. I'm not, as those who know me will already know, I'm not the most kind of outgoing person, but it's been great, actually. Great to have the chat with you, and I think it's really important, the kind of conversations that you're prompting and giving a platform to. So just wanted to say thank you for that, and yeah, I can't wait to be able to have a beer with you and anyone else who's watching. I'm sure there are some very long overdue beers. So
we're gonna keep going until the door in pubs are not open again. So you're gonna see Digital Beer streams with a few more guests. Keep going. Tomorrow we have a Redemption Brewery, so good chats all over. That's the main part. And Tony, I wish you and a beautiful evening. Thanks again, and say bye to the pub, to the bar from us, from me. I hope to see you very soon.
Take care.
All the best, guys. Thank you very much for watching us. Take care, and I'll see you tomorrow if you want to connect again. And enjoy your beers, enjoy your night, enjoy your food, enjoy yourself.